Snow. Went from mud to snow-covered mud. So I'm not even going to begin to plow the wood yard because it's just going to make an epic mess. I'm just hoping that all of the footprints and machine tracks won't completely ice over on me. So we'll see. But went ahead and brought the HDXL back from the mobile processing yard, or job rather, to our wood yard. And I have to process some of my own firewood because it's getting here. I think March is on Saturday, so definitely like to have a good bulk of my wood done, by then. So we'll get the HDXL moved into place. I'm probably going to put it in a new spot because I have the bag racks all set up. My empty totes are over here, using the tool cat to jumpstart the excavator again. Someday I'll change the battery out, but it's a pain. So for now, a couple minutes on the jumper cables, and then we have our wood pile, and I'm probably going to put the HDXL right here, and that way it doesn't mess up my placement for the bag racks over there. It's just kind of an OCD thing, it should really be CDO, that way it's alphabetically correct, but I digress. So on with the morning, here we go. All right, so I'm going to show you guys how to set this thing up. We're going to do a little walk around on it first, just so I can tell you about it and some of the things that I found. Now, what's intriguing on this Pro-HDXL that's different than like your MPs, the main center beam on this, on an MP, is your hydraulic tank, but on the HDXL, it's your fuel tank. So if you're sitting, where the machine is downhill, the fuel pickup is just about back here, about the quarter way point, or about a third of the way back. So what I did, I ordered up a little bubble level from Amazon. So my left to right, the back one is pretty close, but we definitely got to bring the hitch down some to get everything leveled out. I was using the level app on my phone whenever we were setting it up at Chris's place there for the mobile processing job. As far as setup goes, you have 4 corner jacks. I normally set them where that pin that goes through the foot, like skip a hole, and that way it kind of gives you the most room for adjusting things. Like on this one, you can see there's about 8 inches of actual jack that's out, and then we've got it there in the 4th spot. And I will set this up kind of like a camper RV, if you've ever done those before, where you get the nose a little bit lower, get the back jacks to touch, and then you level out the front, and that puts quite a bit of weight without really trying on the back, because you definitely need the rear jacks down to contend with the big conveyor. It's just a lot of weight, behind the axle. You could pull a wheelie if you're not smooth on the controls. There is a keeper pin over here on the live deck, just for transport purposes, just so nothing drifts down. Up here on the live deck legs themselves, you can see there's a little bracket. If you were going real far, I would say pin it, just that way they're not swinging back and forth in the wind. But from Chris's place to here, it's all back roads, and I wasn't going very fast, so I didn't worry about pinning it up. And let me put the camera back in the tripod, and I'll show you just how we get this one done. We got the jacks down here on the front. just about perfect there. And up here we have our live deck arm. So what I was doing at Chris's, because we were moving it so much, I was leaving the pin on top, just that way I could pick it up, so if I can do this one-handed and not fall off of here. A little heavier than it looks, sorry for the camera motion. And then I'll store it as a secondary engine guard in case a log goes too far. It protects the air cleaner and the exhaust pipe there. Oh, the live deck pin I store right on top of the hydraulic motor. There's a bolt sticking out. So I like keeping things close to where I can get to them, and then I don't have to worry about forgetting them. And then the last piece is back here on the conveyor. There's a red bar that keeps the conveyor belt from falling down inside the splitter chamber. There's a clip on the other end that I already pulled out. So that just comes out. That's all it is. Then I set it right here on the frame. And for the 50 plus hours that we processed up at Chris's, it stayed right there. So I went ahead and put a paint mark on the length guide piece, just that way I know we're at the 16 inches that I want it to be at. I'm gonna leave the 8-way in here. I thought about putting in the 12-way, but everything I've got over there on the wood pile is really averaging like 12 to 14 inch, and those center two squares, or the center square on the 12-way is literally like 12 inches. So I really don't want a lot of, you know, the junk and debris in the pile, so we're just going to leave that 8-way in and go from there. Now I'll mark my radius here underneath the conveyor, and we'll move some totes over and throw some wood on the live deck. All right, if you haven't seen one of our previous videos, this 18-foot conveyor has enough pivot to it where we can actually get 4 IBC totes underneath this thing. So again, each IBC tote is about 1/4 of a cord. So if I can get a full cord on the deck, we get 4 of these back here. So we go from a full cord of logs to a full cord of split firewood. And I think I'm happy with my alignment. I like to leave it where the conveyor is just about even with like the outside, you know, edge here. Because once you speed it up, the conveyor throws a little bit. So it should give me a good centered bounce. But I'll show you the control here. So these are our conveyor controls. This is the pivot, the main up and down, and then that secondary piece that folds over. So we'll go from right to left. And that'll give me enough to fill all 4 IBC totes. The only thing that you have to watch, and we're gonna put a piece of belting in here, is whenever you pivot this, you have to make sure that there's nothing in this pocket, because as you come over, you'll bend it and pinch some things on the conveyor. Don't ask me how I know. So I always like to start to the left. I always like to start to the left because that way, if there's something in there, it's easy for me to reach in and pull that out versus going from the right or going from the left to the right, because then I'd have to reach across things and see how close it gets here. So we're gonna do a piece of belting on Friday. We're gonna go back to the Timberwolf and get some stuff, and that'll kind of fill in that gap and keep the wood going uphill. So I picked up the pieces that were on the ground. I picked up the pieces that were behind the tote and threw them here on the conveyor so we can get everything in one shot. I do have a piece up here on the deck yet. Oh, it's probably, I don't know, 24 inches plus that little bit there to the right. I raked out the fines that came out of the grizzly bars down here. We're gonna do a plate that bolts in so I can remove them, like when I'm gonna run it through the disc cleaner. But doing stuff like this, I don't mind it coming out here, because I'd rather that stuff come out here than in the IBC totes. So I threw down a couple pieces just to mark, you know, where I want to put things here on the radius as it dumps in. Just like with the firewood bags, I do like to fuss things in a little bit to try to fill in, you know, any big gaps or voids or anything like that. And then I always put a good, you know, crown to it, just to make sure that, you know, everything is in there as it should be. I never want to short anybody. I was actually talking with Todd from Montana last night about the log lift bags. He said he felt they were a little short, but he was stopping, you know, right dead even with the bags. So he's going to throw a couple armfuls up on top, and that should suffice for what he's got going on. A little bit of debris here that I raked out from the other side. That processor was definitely cold when we fired things up there. You could just hear everything moan and groan, especially the saw. It takes the most oil. One thing that I do here with the 8-way, I made a little mark here that used to say 4-inch. So that way the piece that's coming off the bottom is that nice 4-inch piece. Again, not a lot of resplits in there, with it being, you know, the smaller diameter stuff. That 8-way, you know, is working really, really well. I do have to go and get some bar oil by the looks of that. This is my little indicator piece here, which means she be empty. And I don't know, how warm did we get it here? Let's see if I can get in here left-handed. Just about 100 degrees there on the left-hand side. We're starting to warm up. I know when I was doing the mobile job, it was around about 150. So still got a little bit of warming to do. We are melting some ice here on top of the hydraulic tank, and which is nice. The hydraulic oil tank, as it warms up, the heat radiates up into the bar oil and allows that to get a little bit thinner, so it should flow as it should. But there you go. First core to being back in our own wood yard. All right, we're gonna do videos all day while I've got this home, and it's on about 35, 36 degrees, so it's definitely not too cold, but just to be the first of many, hopefully, if it goes according to plan. And so there you have our first cord. So if I can get you a sales quote on anything that we have for sale for making little pieces into big pieces, please give me a phone call. It's 833-SPLITTER. It's 833-775-4887. You can also email me at sales@shaverequipment.com. And everything we have is going to be over on the website soon, and that's going to be shaverequipment.com. Still the great place for ordering up the firewood bags, the log lift, the power lift, the 6th cord bags, and the barrel bags. So again, if we can build you a custom quote, break everything out by line item, make sure the piece of equipment that you're going to purchase from us meets your needs, or at least exceeds them by a little bit, give you some room to grow. We do use everything firsthand, and happy to help. Would love to talk to you. Give me a phone call, shoot me that email, and we'll talk to you soon. But in the meantime, do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you can stay up to date on everything we have going on, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.